So one of the mistakes I made, out of many, would have been to trust that inclusion would happen naturally once I had shared my vision with school staff and they were on board and they had agreed to inclusion on principle.
I thought, oh well, they know how to do education, the school, so we all understand that we want him included and that they would be able to figure out how to do that, but sometimes it didn't actually look like what I thought it should, and that I did have to have some conversations, and so that we're all on the same page.
So in the early years, I think I just thought that change would happen if I was really nice to people. So I really backed down from the difficult conversations when I saw that Sean was maybe being removed from the classroom or sitting with the teacher aide. I didn't really want to tackle it, or I was just too subtle in my messages. And what I found was that sometimes you need to be quite clear about what you want to see, because people don't necessarily understand what inclusion is.
In advocating for Eliza, that really started in the medical space, and that's where I learnt all the hard lessons. So the hard lessons for me were, I always assumed that people would do a good job because it was the right thing to do. Unfortunately, that has not always been the case. And so I learnt that I needed to ask questions. I needed to probe as to why they were doing certain things. Was that the best thing for Eliza, or was that the easiest thing for them to do?
I think worrying about everything all at the same time is a big problem for many parents, and I certainly had that, and I think I've definitely had times where they felt like there were 20 different issues to deal with, and I learnt to write them all down and to prioritise which ones were the absolute most important right now that seemed realistic to be able to solve and would have the most positive impact on Millie's life.
First of all, I like to reinforce the positives, what they're doing great for our family and for my son, and then go into and acknowledge the staff that have been involved in that, if that's relevant, and then bring up, the most pertinent points that I really want to talk about.
I would never go to any meeting at school on my own. It is so helpful to have another person with me who understands the situation and also cares deeply for Liam.
And plan before you have those conversations. Go in with a goal and stick to that goal, and keep coming back to that goal until you can actually get there and find a solution.
One thing I've found useful with the school was to give them 1 or 2 guiding principles to help them make decisions when situations are a bit more complex. So when they're not sure if they should do this or that, one of the guiding principles is not to take my son out of class and into the educational unit. So I say, let's find a solution that you would find for any child without a disability. What would you do? You would not take him away from class, or what can we do that doesn't entail that strategy?
Yeah, I take in some notes so that I don't forget the major points that I want to make during our meeting.
I found it really valuable to always go into formal meetings with a plan of what I wanted to achieve from the meeting, to anticipate what some of the counter arguments would be, and even to rehearse what I wanted to say, so that in the situation, which often felt really emotionally charged, I would have the words ready to speak rather than feeling really emotionally caught off guard.
I need to remember at all times this is about my child, not about me as an adult. And that can be really difficult, particularly if people are questioning your parenting.
When emotion comes into it, that can be really, really hard to figure out. So I think being really logical and talking to others. If you don't have a partner you can talk to, then having a great friend or a family member, someone you can rely on to be able to talk it out.
I have used myself the principles around non-violent communication when I think of my interactions in advocacy situations. So thinking clearly about the preferred outcome I would like from the interaction, and also the non-violent communication principles, which are really about weighing your words and choosing the words you use, understanding that they can either contribute to connection or to distance.
If it's a problem as such, work towards a solution, asking them their ideas, using the curious approach to draw them in to ask them why and what they see it might be some solutions.
I sometimes joke about me being Eliza's PR person, and that goes to how do I talk about her? What stories do I share that help people understand her? Because Eliza is non-verbal. What language do I use when I'm talking about some of the more difficult stuff? So not being a Pollyanna about things, but talking about her in the way that I want them to see her.
I've become a better advocate the more I stay grounded that it is my son's absolute right to belong, that he is important and valuable, and that I need to embrace my role, I guess, as his voice in situations where he can't speak up for himself. So I guess I feel that enables me to feel courageous in situations which I would rather avoid.
I find that advocacy is something that I do every day. The intensity of it waxes and wanes, but it's a daily commitment and it requires vigilance on my part.
Stay connected with others who are pursuing an inclusive education or have pursued an inclusive education for their child. So other parents that really appreciate and understand the importance of all children being included. That's just something that has been hugely beneficial for me.